Welcome back everyone, it's Matsimus. Thank you for joining me on this video today, I really do appreciate it. So once again, we are talking about self-propelled guns and artillery pieces, and this is hands down one gigantic and highly impressive gun. This is the 2S7 Pion. Now I think I'm saying that right, and I apologize if I'm not, but that's the best we're going to get for now. Now, this is a vehicle that I've never even seen before until today. I came across it in a Discord channel that I'm a part of, the Cab Show, and you may be aware of it. Go check that out if you are a follower of that channel. It's got some interesting discussions and topics. But it was posted just as a picture, and I was like, oh, that's an interesting vehicle. And then I was like, holy shit, that thing is massive. This is a 203mm Howitzer. This is a beast, guys. I'm not going to lie to you, it's absolutely massive for self-propelled gun systems. As you can see, it's an automatic, pretty much automatic loading system. Guys, don't get upset about me talking about autoloaders. Just kidding, don't get upset. But yeah, this really is highly impressive. So we're going to talk a little bit about it and go, as we always do, as an overview, and then I'm going to put my own opinion on it, which I'm not going to lie to you, is pretty impressive because I'm stunned by this beast. So let's go over this vehicle then. So first of all, let's touch base on a little bit of its sort of history and how it came to be and how self-propelled guns in general in Russia came to be. First of all, Soviet armoured doctrine was pretty much rewritten during World War II, following the German invasion of the Soviet Union through Operation Barbarossa. A large focus was eventually placed upon mobile artillery support. That involved rocket fire. A lot of you probably know them as Katyushka systems, with towed artillery elements, and beyond that, mostly self-propelled guns. This wartime experience considerably influenced designs that would appear after the war, which saw the big guns, and these vehicles became the norm in supporting major offensives. The 2S7, or Pion, I'm trying my best to say that properly, I think it's peony or Pion, I tried Google Translate and I was looking for Russians everywhere and I just couldn't find it, I apologize, I'm trying my best, was taken into inventory in 1976, and its design was centered around a massive 203mm gun barrel, which sat atop a tracked chassis. Despite its Cold War roots, this effective fire support vehicle remains in service to this day. When recognized by the West, NATO assigned the designation of M1975, model 1975, to the 2S7. It carried the official Soviet Army designation of the SO-203 as well. When adopted by the service, the 2S7 became the largest self-propelled artillery system and vehicle in service anywhere in the world. With the arrival of the T-80 main battle tank, the Soviet Army had an all-modern track and wheel chassis from which to spawn a line of associated vehicles from. The 2S7 was developed to support offensive actions involving tanks, as well as infantry and other mobile assets for frontline service involving indirect fire. And for those of you who don't know what indirect fire means, it basically means artillery fire. Shells coming from a long distance location and landing on top of your horrible little head. The 2S7 became a 46.5 ton, this is a beast, vehicle, mating the 203mm 2A44 series howitzer atop the beautiful T-80 tank chassis, which utilized a V46 V12 turbocharged diesel-fueled engine of around 840 horsepower, and was fitted at the middle of the hull, which is an interesting configuration for a vehicle like this, considering that it's so long and it has such a wide wheelbase. To have the vehicle's engine in the middle there is quite interesting to see how the driveline would actually get to that sprocket at the front. I mean, the driveline itself, as you can see here, it's just, there's a lot of vehicle road wheels going on there. I think there's, what we got, 7, and the idler and then the sprocket. And it's kind of got that old World War I track basis going along the kind of, trapezoid kind of thing. I think that's the right shape, I can't remember. But yeah, it's an interesting design feature. And I'm not too sure how well it would do off-road with such a wide, long ground sort of angle that it will hit out there. I'm not too sure. I mean, I wouldn't want to be taking this thing over knife edges, because you probably, first of all, pummel that 203mm cannon into the ground, and second of all, it seems like it could really easily topple over. And hopefully that 46 tons is going to help try and keep it from getting stuck in the mud. The vehicle component retains its torsional bar system, so pretty much old school suspension systems for off-road travel, and could reach speeds of roughly around 31 miles per hour with an operational road range of about 400 miles. Now, for a vehicle that weighs 46.5 tons, 31 miles an hour is pretty impressive, and most vehicles in militaries have to be designated to a certain distance. What I mean by that, guys, is if an army or military designs a vehicle, the vehicle should, within reason, be able to meet the minimum required distance of any other vehicle in the military. For instance, in the British Army, all vehicles must get to a standard distance without running out of fuel. And obviously the Russian military has decided for this particular vehicle, 400 miles is its maximum movement range, which is pretty darn impressive. There's a lot of room on that vehicle clearly for fuel. The overall length of this vehicle was 10.5 meters with a width of 3.38 meters and a height of 3 meters. Armor protection was for only the crew and held in the hull in a forward-mounted cab sporting with roof hatches and measured 10 millimeters in maximum thickness. So clearly, guys, not really that much armor. I mean, it's not exactly a vehicle that's going to be pummeling across in the first spearhead. This thing is going to be dug in, entrenched as these guys are right now, pummeling the enemy with heavy rounds, which clearly it's doing very well at. The standard operating crew numbered 14. 7 were carried on the primary vehicle with the remainder brought along in an assist vehicle, probably a truck, and they would normally be, driving along beside them or very close beside them, protected by probably APCs and armoured fighting vehicles. However, only the driving and command positions located in the front cabin were actually protected for the crew. This meant that the gunnery crew was completely exposed at the rear top of the hull and also at the mercy of the elements and nuclear, biological and chemical warfare, which, thank God, never had to be utilised. The 203mm 2A44 gun system, with its integrated mounted and recoil hardware, was sat over the rear of the hull. This weapon provided engagement ranges of out to 37.5 kilometers and supported the use of rocket-assisted projectiles, otherwise known as RAPs, which drastically increased the ranges of out to 47 kilometers, giving the vehicle a hefty punch for indirect fire service. The mounting hardware allowed for an inherent traversal of 15 degrees to the right or left before the entire vehicle needed to be turned in the direction of the desired fire. Now this is going to be a huge hindrance, guys, because without having that 360 traverse, it is kind of limiting the vehicle. For instance, if it was to throw a track, that vehicle is pretty much inherently stopped between 15 degrees left and right, which is going to be pretty much useless. A load assist mechanism was given to aid the reloading process, involving the large shells of 203mm, which I certainly wouldn't want to be hand loading into this beast, and the associated propellant charge components that also needed to be installed into the breech. The 203mm projectile reloads were managed by an accompanying ammunition carrier reload vehicle, commonly fielded with such units. The 2S7 gun carrier section stowed 4 ready-to-fire 203mm projectiles on its hull. The 2S7 designation marked original production models of 1976, and minor improvements produced the 2S7N mark in the following years. The 2S7M, or Malka, was introduced during 1983 as a modernised variant with an updated fire control system, an improved rate of fire, up to 2.5 rounds per minute, and an increased onboard storage of the 203mm rounds from 4 to 8. The BTM-4 Mark was offshoot design of the 2S7 and outfitted with a trench digging equipment to serve in the support role to the 2S7 detachments. The 2S7 was eventually taken into the inventories of several Soviet allies and supporting states including Angola, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Czechoslovakia, Georgia, Poland, Slovakia, although in limited number, Ukraine and Uzbekistan. Former Soviet examples were absorbed into the new Russian army after the fall of the Soviet Empire, whilst others found in former states were reconstituted by local armies. Czechoslovakia utilised the vehicle series from 1984 to 1994, after which examples were sold off to Angola. Polish examples were retired in 2006. Okay, so I guess it's now my opinion on this vehicle. Well, first of all, guys, what I will say is this thing is an absolute beast and very, very impressive. Let's quickly go over the pros and the cons of this vehicle. First of all, the pros. Firepower. 203mm of firepower. That is a lot of high explosives or any kind of munitions that can be placed onto an enemy location from a great range. We're talking about 35 to 45 kilometers of range. Yes, they are obviously rocket-assisted projectiles. However, even with those kind of munitions being used, there is a lot of range to be putting onto a target with that kind of firepower. A massive pro for this vehicle. Another pro is its mobility. I mean, it's a tracked vehicle, it's got a hell of an engine to it, a lot of horsepower there to get it where it needs to go, and is able to get to positions that other wheeled vehicles and howitzers may not be able to get to. But inherently, with it being so difficult to get across knife edges, difficult terrain, because of its long length base, so that is a con in some respects. It could be quite difficult to navigate tough terrain in this size of vehicle. Another pro, what I would say, is at least it's attempting to protect the certain members of the crew, which brings me on to the con, is it's not protecting all of the crew, and that's quite sad to know that really only the commander and the driver are being given that protection, and everybody else is to suffer the wrath of whatever else could be put upon them. Another con for me is I'm quite skeptical about the drivetrain. There's a lot of wheels going on there, and a lot of maintenance that would have to be placed on this vehicle, which is gonna cause a lot of issues down the road if you're driving this thing all over the place. I mean, it's a heavy vehicle, weighs about 48 tons. You put 48 tons and that many road wheels across terrain, off-road and on-road, you're talking about a lot of maintenance. Now, you have a nice big crew, which is a nice pro to have, of 7 crew members, but for a vehicle of this size, it just seems a little overkill, which brings me on to kind of, I guess, my next con. I think this vehicle has a lot of potential still on the modern battlefield. Clearly, it has the firepower to engage fixed positions from long range. However, I think in today's modern conflicts, counter-battery artillery fire is really going to put this vehicle off its edge a little bit. It takes quite a while to set up these large caliber weapon systems, and I think, if anything, the biggest con to this vehicle is its impossibility to do 360-degree fire and a shoot and scoot maneuver. With that only 15 degrees left and right traverse, it's really giving it a very difficult environment to engage from. The fact of the matter is that self-propelled guns really should, at these nowadays, should be able to shoot and scoot, fire around and disappear again, and be able to engage from a 360-degree range, as we see with most modern self-propelled guns nowadays. Obviously, the Russians and most countries around the world have learnt from this. They've realised that, counter-battery artillery fire is going to be crucial in winning conflicts, and to try and prevent rounds coming back onto you, you need to be able to put a round down range and get out of there. Sadly, this vehicle just isn't able to really do that. I mean, it has to put its blades down, it has to dig itself in a little bit. Just elevating that huge mammoth of a 203mm cannon in itself is going to take a bit of time. And loading that big beast of a shell, although helped by the autoloader, which in this particular instance helps a lot, is still taking quite a while. So yeah, I think for me that's its biggest con, is it's just not that mobile in being able to provide that firepower quickly and move again. But if these vehicles were placed into a heavy hull-down position, being able to provide long-range fire support to fixed positions that they could kind of provide that counter-battery fire for their forces, then it would make sense. But I really don't think, in the grand scheme of things, this vehicle is going to see a long-term future, because there's just too many systems in place that are now countering this vehicle and that firepower, because they'll be found rather quickly by counter-battery artillery radar, and unfortunately, whether it be an airstrike or another artillery strike, will take out these vehicles before they can move and get to a new location. Overall though, guys, I really do think this vehicle still has a lot of potential on the battlefield. Like I said, get into a hold down position and provide that firepower that clearly this vehicle has in bucket loads. And overall, I think I kind of fell in love with this vehicle just for the mere fact that it is an absolute beast. And I love that gun. I'm also really interested by the self-loading mechanism. The way it loads is very interesting. Considering it has a crew of 7, it really only looks like it takes 2 or 3 guys to put that massive round and bag charge in there, which is pretty impressive. So overall, guys, I really do love this vehicle, and I'm going to do some more research on it and see if I can find out some more interesting details. I really hope you enjoyed today's video, guys. I would really appreciate if you could leave a like, and if you did enjoy the video, leave me a comment, let me know what you think. If you are new to my channel, please feel free to subscribe, and I would also really appreciate if you could share around on social media and Facebook and such. I also do have a Patreon account, guys, so if anyone does have the urge or the willingness to donate towards my channel, I would really appreciate it, but it is not expected or necessary in any way, shape or form. Just something to think about. Anyway, guys, I really do appreciate you stopping by today. Take care, have a great day, all the best, and bye bye.